Hey, what's going on, good people? What's happening out there in YouTube land? It's your man, King P, checking in with one of my random, but not so random thoughts. I didn't really want to weigh in on this nonsense, but I had to weigh in on this nonsense. And you know what it is I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is this whole trending topic of we done with the 90s. Yeah, as far we talking basketball here. All right. Now, anybody who hasn't been living under a rock for the past week, you've seen this. You've seen this. We done with the 90s topic trending all over social media. Basically, what it is that some goofy McGoofingtons have decided that because they post a bunch of videos of lowlights, not highlights, lowlights from former NBA players, past NBA players back in the 80s, 90s, 70s, even 50s and 60s. They post those clips and basically use that to substantiate the reasons as to why today's players are so much better than the players of yesteryear. Now, at first, I didn't think it was something that really even needed to be spoke about. However, things began to take off and all the trolling came in and all this, that, and the third and whatnot. And seeing as I'm all about truth and I know a thing or two about a thing or two, I had to chime in, especially once I watched Jimmy High Roller's video regarding this subject, and he went to great lengths to try to say that today's player is just so much better than the players of yesteryear and all this, that, and the third. So, here are my thoughts. For one, let me ask you a question. In your line of work, if someone doesn't grasp the fundamentals of their job, but they do things in a quote unquote different or flashier way, does that make them better than you at what it is that you do? Again, they don't know the basics, but they are able to work there because they get things done in a way that brings them attention. Think about that for a minute. Take all the time you need. Now, I'm saying that to say this. Today's players do not have a grasp of the fundamentals. The NBA wants guys now who are athletes who they can teach to play basketball. They want guys who can run and jump and jack up three-point shots because you got to have a three-point shot. Now, they all go to the same trainers. They all do the same moves. And when they get to the NBA, they all play the same way. Also, add in the fact that the rules have been so skewed to where it allows for the offensive player to operate with impunity. There's no shot blocker waiting in the lane for these guys. There's no getting into your man on defense. There's no defense at all. All these inflated numbers, all these inflated ideals of what skills actually are. And they'll say someone like Kawhi Leonard, oh, he's a throwback player. Kawhi Leonard isn't a throwback player. Kawhi Leonard is an efficient player. Basketball is a game of efficiency. A great coach once said, do not mistake activity for achievement. And unfortunately, a lot of you out there who don't know the game of basketball, that is exactly what it is you're doing. If a guy has to do 20-something moves just to get by you, that's not a good skill set. A guy who can score using one or two moves, three at the most, and do it effectively and do it consistently, that is somebody who is exceptionally skilled. Of course, you have to add in lots of other things as well. There's the media, there's the media that keeps this whole thing going. And, they try to say, oh, well, it's because the old heads don't respect the young players or whatnot. Well, the old heads don't see anything to respect. They see a lot of guys who get a lot of money and who cheat the game. They're crying about having to play over 65 games. That's not what we came up. That's not the era that we came up in. Again, when you saw the Lakers on TV back in the day, you knew Magic Johnson was going to be there. You knew Kareem was going to be there. You saw the Boston Celtics on TV, you knew that Larry Bird was going to play. You saw the Bulls, Mike was going to be there. These guys took pride in being out there every night. Now, injuries aside, what have you, for the most part, these guys showed up to work. These guys now, they don't want to show up to work, and they want a whole lot of accolades. They want a whole lot of praise for doing nothing. And slowly but surely, the NBA has eroded into a glorified AAU game. These guys don't even want to compete anymore. You got Devin Booker, who is as soft as he's as soft as toilet tissue. If you remember, a couple of years ago, Devin Booker was, he was on video crying because, he was playing in a pickup game and he was crying about being double teamed in the pickup game. Now, this is the guy who's supposed to worship Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant was alive at that time. And what did Kobe Bryant say when he saw that video of Devin Booker crying about being double teamed in a pickup game? He said, you got to learn to fight through it. Got to learn to fight through it. Now, this man is a professional basketball player, and you are crying about being double teamed in a pickup game. But yet and still, you are so much more skilled than everybody else. Make that make sense. Oh, and by the way, while we're on the subject of Devin Booker recently came out and said that the reason that there are no more real intense rivalries in the NBA is because all of these guys came up in the AAU circuit, and they know each other. They've been playing against each other for years, and they just know that it's just not that serious. This is where the game is headed, people. You're going to get more of this. Now let me ask you this. If these players are so much better and the product is so much better, why aren't people tuning in to watch? In fact, they're not trying to watch this at all. People are actually watching the women's game a lot more than they're watching the NBA. Shout out to the ladies. The ladies are hooping the way that you were supposed to hoop. They're hooping from a fundamental standpoint. Yeah, they got the flashiness, but they also compete. Those women get out there and compete, whether it's college game or WNBA. Salute to the ladies. These dudes, they don't want it like that. See, the NBA is going to become a specialized league. It's going to become a league filled with former players' sons and foreign players. You're not going to see that guy that came up from the trenches, grew up playing in the hood and all that. That story, you're not going to see too much anymore. You're going to see, all these former NBA players' sons taking up roster spots, being exalted to levels that they really shouldn't be exalted to. You're going to have foreign players coming over because, hey, word gets around. It's not like how it was back in the 80s and 90s. A foreign player could come to the NBA and actually dominate. Shout out to Luka. Shout out to Joker. They know it's easier. Again, the rules have been skewed in such a way to where defense is non-existent. They only let them play during the playoffs. Maybe. That is during certain series. Because if you all watched that series a couple of years ago with the Nets and the Celtics, and Kevin Durant was so stymied by Boston's defense, which is basically which was basically 90s defense. And when we talk about 90s players, people want to say, oh, well, you know, those guys weren't skilled. They just had guys coming into the game, the hack and foul and all this, that, and the third, which is ludicrous. You mean to tell me that guys like Detlef Schrempf, guys like, let's say, Anthony Mason, guys like Steve Smith, guys like that, Rick Smits couldn't excel in today's game? David Robinson would kill in today's game. That athleticism, the defense, the rebounding, and he could shoot. He would give Giannis fits. So would Patrick Ewing. So would Hakeem Olajuwon. People like to dismiss that Shaquille O'Neal was drafted in 1992. Shaq is a 90s player, and you can't sit up there and discredit him because of his style of play. He played the style of play that the coaches wanted him to play. But don't get it twisted. Shaq was a beast, and he also had wiggle to his game. But of course, the game now is more predicated on flash and all of that. Well, back in the 80s and 90s, they had flash, but it was flash for a purpose. It wasn't just trying to be flashy, unless they were in a setting like the NBA All-Star game or something like that. Now, it's all about flash, and flashy doesn't mean better. It never will. So, even when you get into the subject of shooters, shooting more shots does not make you a better shooter. It just means that you shoot a lot. Chris Broussard has already dismissed that claim. So we can stop talking about that. And then lastly, the trolling has gotten out of control. Cass is sitting up there making videos talking about Michael Jordan, the greatest of all time, didn't have a left hand. I'm not going to address that nonsense. What's next? Y'all gonna say that Rakim really couldn't rap? He just had a dope voice? Man, get out of here. No, we're not done with the 90s. We're not done with the 80s. We're not done with the 60s. We're not done with the 70s and whatever. We respect all those players. Those players paved the way for the game as it is being worshipped today. So we can't be done with them. There's so many influences from yesterday that you see now. So it's very disrespectful to sit there and say that we're done with the forefathers of the game and basically try to make them social media footnotes. No, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that at all. You can keep that nonsense. We're not done with the 90s. We are done with cats being disrespectful who don't know the game. And with that, I'm going to land my plane right there. Y'all let me know what y'all think. And as always, before I leave you, there's lots of people talking, but not everybody's worth listening to. And with that said, good people, 2 fingers equals peace.